She knew Rick was still hurting but wouldn't show it. During his 20s, he had drug problems, and it turns out that it wasn't heroin he got but fentanyl instead, which killed him. Things went badly for Rick Harrison. He lost his son, was sued by his own mother, and saw the cops take his best friend. Pawn Star's happy face had a lot of pain that the cameras never saw. No one knew what was going on behind the shop doors, breakups, deaths, and a lot of trouble. Even though things were going badly in his life, he kept working, and happy. Pay attention, because the person who let him down wasn't a stranger. It was Chumley, Rick Harrison's battle to stay alive. Rick was born in March 1965, a loud house with 3 brothers, and no guide on how to deal with grief. Death came to his door before he was old enough to understand what it meant. The house became quieter in a bad way when his older sister died. When you're young and death comes to visit, it doesn't go away quietly. It stays with you, like a word that tells you that good things can end. But he couldn't get rid of the silence. It was with him through everything he did. No, but I just felt like doing anything and enjoying life, because I knew it was all going to fall apart soon. And then the seizures. These aren't the mild ones that go away after a while. These are the ones that hold you down, take your breath away, and make the world spin when it should be still. He was 8 years old and stuck in bed while everyone else's lives went on. While the other kids in the neighborhood played outside, he was stuck inside reading books and trouble. Books were like air to him. His dislike at school grew by the time he was in the 10th grade. He quit, not because he couldn't keep up, but because he saw an easier way to make money. He could sell fake Gucci bags for $2,000, 0 cents a week. He knew it wasn't really clean money, but when your family was broke, clean money didn't pay the bills. His parents' dream of buying a house had come true. The damage was so bad that only a hustler could fix the holes it made. It got even stranger after that. He managed to get a girl going. Still a teen, barely able to take care of himself. The child did not live, lost the baby. Grief came back to remind him of how it felt. They cried. They broke. They tried to hold on. And Corey came out of the ashes. That kid on TV who looked bored, that is his mooring. This was his first chance to do something right. He tried to build a house, but the cracks were too big. He was left with 2 sons and a lot of broken hopes after the relationship ended. And then Tracy, the second wife, came along. She helped carry the stuff, and he buried himself in junk and cash. He learned history like a second language. He knew the name of the person who swung the old sword if it came through the door. I mean, money is cool, but it's not everything. It wasn't enough to know about the past to run a business. You also had to be able to handle the present. The early days of gold and silver pawn were cruel. Lease after lease broke down. There were a lot of bills. They had to get a license, but the law said the city had to have at least 250,000 people. He waited and looked at the count of people like it was a lottery ticket. He'd jump when the city hit the number. 1989. That's when things really started. When the pawn shop opened, he and his dad put everything inside. They sold anything they could get their hands on at first. Sports gear, artifacts from war, and broken jewelry. But they quickly learned that the sparkle brought in the money. Watches, rings, and chains. They paid the rent. Then there was lightning. Vegas was the place where 2 TV directors went to find something weird, real, or gritty. When they went into the store, they saw all 3 of them. He had been sitting tight for this. She had always thought the shop should get some attention. Now it was too bright to see. Pawn Stars came into the world. Some strange facts, old junk, and awkward family stress are mixed together. It worked. A lot of people wanted more. The show went crazy. He was no longer just a pawn shop owner. He was famous on TV. The store was packed with people. Every corner is full of 10,000 things, and each one has a story and a price tag. He told the story of a world where hustle met history. By 2011, it was the most popular show on the History Channel, second only to Jersey Shore, which is all about fist pumps. He was ahead, but his smile didn't show the whole story. As the cameras kept rolling, people started suing. Family members turned against each other, and he was accused of fraud, betrayal, and hidden deals. Even his mother became involved. The play wasn't put together for TV. It was true. It hurts. It is raw. There were times when he could have left, but something held him down. It could have been pride, guilt, or the sound of his dad's voice telling him to hold the line. He'd never let go, no matter what. A lot of people still go to Pawn Stars, but now it's more about memories than something new. People come in looking for the magic they saw on TV. He smiles at them and might say something funny or tell a story, Then he stops talking. He said he could read for the rest of his life. He never got that peaceful library life, maybe because books were the only place that made sense when nothing else did. What he got instead were lights, cases, and late nights in Las Vegas. He never gave up, though. The pawn shop is still there, making noise and keeping memories safe. Corey still comes by, opens the doors, makes deals, and hides his pain behind half smiles. There's more to this story than just a man selling old stuff for cash. The story is about someone who went through a lot of pain, loss, and chaos, and made something beautiful out of it. He thought the worst was over, but soon there was more pain. Because Rick loves Rick. Rick is tough to deal with. Rick does God's work with everyone he is with. Breakup, death, and the Pawn King. Things looked good in June 2011, and Rick made it to the New York Times bestsellers list. The show was a big hit. Don't be fooled, though. The good mood didn't last long. His second marriage hit a wall before the end of the year. It was time for divorce number 2, but soon after, a new woman named Deanna showed up. She had just gotten divorced, just like he had. It worked. There may be a thing called trauma connection. They quickly became serious about each other, and he turned his attention back to a show. He began to appear on TV shows like The Middle and iCarly. Yes, he was now making cameos. Things were fine. Again, he even got married to Deanna in Laguna on the beach. His name was getting big. There were more ads, shows, and a pawn shop that was almost a symbol in Las Vegas. But just when things looked stable, life smacked. Died. He was the well-liked old man from the show. Parkinson's disease took him away, and his friends all over the world felt it. He had to keep going. Things didn't stop for sadness. He had to run the gold and silver swap shop by himself after his dad died. He was the only one with the wheel left. It wasn't easy for him to carry, especially after being hit so hard. But he didn't have time to break down. There were contracts to sign, bills to pay, and a heritage to guard. Then there was a big sickness. 2020 brought more than just a bug. There was a lot of fear, stress, and money problems because of it. The city that never sleeps, Las Vegas, became a ghost town. Tourists went away. The locals stayed inside. People used to walk into the pawn shop all the time, and now it was empty. What he could, he did. He cut rates of interest. People were given more time to get their things back. He kept things friendly, to help the people who had helped his business grow. He believed that in 6 months, everything would be fine again. But as the months went by, the clients didn't come back fast enough. The numbers were terrible by the end of the year. The store only made $37,000, 0 cents. This was terrible for a company that was used to making $1 million or more a year. He had to keep the lights on and pay his staff while he saw the kingdom he built begin to fall apart. Then there was another hit. The marriage he had to Deanna ended. There was no longer any spark, and the link could no longer be kept. Even though he was going through his 3rd divorce, he still had some hope. After that relationship, he had 3 girls. His son Corey and his friend Chumley were still with him. Okay, this world makes it very easy to be happy. Yes, I've been married 3 times. I just asked her to marry me again, and I'm happy. There was no time for him to mope around. He was back at the altar in no time. Wendy Palmer got married for the 4th time. He may have a stronger faith in love than most people think. He might just hate being by himself. The wedding bells rang again, no matter what. Peace didn't last, though. The next part of his story wasn't just sad. It was strange. His mother took him to court. The news talked about a case over who owned the pawn shop, her share, while she was still getting better from being in a coma. Not only messy, it looks like a family fight about to break out. His mom, Joanne, said she was being left behind while he made all the money. She said that the shop no longer gave her the regular checks that they used to. She claimed that he never gave her the right financial records. She wanted to know. That's what she wanted. She thought it was hers and wanted it back. He then told her that she was being tricked and that the people around her were spreading false information to her. She didn't give up, though. She put in a police report. He wasn't supposed to sell assets, hide money, or do anything else that could hurt her part of the business. Then, the part that made everyone cry was over. His son Adam died in January 2024. It was too much fentanyl and meth. He was last seen, and then his owner found him not responding. The word got around quickly. Adam only wrote a few words with the picture. "You'll always be in my heart. I love you, Adam." His fans were sad with him. Adam wasn't on the show, but he was still related to them. That's how a dad could lose his son. A lot of people can't. Imaging the pain. But he kept coming back. The store was open all all the time. He kept going because stopping would have hurt him badly. In that year, he began to look into politics. Nevada became his main interest. Or he might have wanted to start over. He may have thought he could fix more than just broken clocks and guns that were rusty. He was made a Kentucky colonel, which is the state's highest award. Even though it was bright, there were still shadows behind it. He had been carrying a heavy load behind every antique deal and silly TV moment. He had lost his dad, his son, his marriages, and his mother in court. He was also trying to keep a business going during a global disaster and hold on to something stable while everything else was spinning out of control. He still doesn't seem like he wants to take a break. He still does interviews, goes to events, and plays the role of the expert judge on TV and in movies. Behind those tired eyes and stiff smiles, though, you can see that there's more going on. He still feels the weight of everything he's been through, even when the camera is moving. He has already lost a lot. The next hit, though, came from a close friend or family member. The rift in the pawn shop. He didn't just hire a co-worker, he got someone who was like a brother. Chumley was the funny guy with the strange snacks and strange timing, but he was also a regular part of Rick's life, a memory that moves. Someone who knew when to say something and when to joke around. Someone who could keep things light when the heat in Las Vegas made people angry. You could count on him when you didn't know how much to charge for a dirty toy, or when the cameras were too close for safety. They weren't always close. Chumley showed up out of the blue, stupid and hard to predict, but faithful in a way that made you trust him more. The next second he was making a sale like a pro while laughing about old video games. Between the shelves of old things and customer complaints, his boss saw him grow up. It was like seeing your younger brother learn to swim. His arms would flail around, and then all of a sudden he'd be moving like he knew how. But things don't always stay easy. It wasn't a loud crack, it was more of a feeling or a shift. Chumley made a deal by himself one day. No review, no expert, and no heads up. Just a check mark and a smile. The 7th show of Season 12 has been recorded and is now complete. It was called Pawn Apocalypse on the show. Really cute. I felt more like a slow-motion betrayal behind the scenes. The boss didn't yell or hit a desk. He just looked. Peaceful. It hurts more to be let down than to be angry. That kind that stays in your chest, not moving. There were more and more strange events, like missed calls, late arrivals, and talks that went nowhere. The owner of the shop noticed that Chumley blinked more when he lied. Maybe he laughed a little too loud, or didn't look anyone in the eye. These weren't mistakes made by beginners. They were signs. With all its force, March 2016 slammed through the front door. A man had just taken his first sip of coffee when the news came out. Chumley had been caught. The cops in Las Vegas had looked through his house. What they saw looked like a mix between a bad dream and a crime scene. Meth, marijuana, Xanax, and more than a dozen guns, some of which are allowed and some of which are not. The search was started because of an investigation into wrongdoing. He didn't curse or throw the phone, he just sat there. He looked at the screen and tried to figure out what the words meant. He called Corey. What his son said didn't really help either, it just made him ask more questions. It felt like the floor had given way and everyone was ready to hit the bot. That day, he didn't come to work. The shop went on without him. Outside, tourists were lined up, cameras were set up, and directors were whispering to one another in the shot. That night, all of a sudden, the store closed up shop, and he left. It felt like someone had thrown a rock through the window inside, where the blinds were closed. All the laughs and the love, the shared past is no longer there. It has been tainted. It is no longer recognizable. There was neither a news release nor a prepared speech. The network did not say why. The show went on without a known face. Chumley finally made a deal with the police. Not going to jail, just probation and therapy. It looked easy on paper. The person who trained him thought it was like a crack that was too big to fix. Fans talked during the pause to fill it. Online boards grew like crazy. Some people fought hard to protect Chumley. Some people called for his head. The man in the middle didn't say anything. He didn't care. But the truth wasn't clean. He was mad. He was really sad. He missed the guy who always tripped over his own shoelaces. Not the man whose name was all over the news for poor taste. Chumley finally came back. He spoke less loudly and tried to smile like nothing had changed. But his eyes didn't look the same. He said he was going to make things better. The person nodded. He didn't say he would forgive you. Just be patient. Because words alone won't help you heal after someone you love hurts you. It comes over days, as you watch and wait in silence. The store kept going. People kept coming in, but the boss kept a closer eye on everything. It got smaller when he laughed. His trust was as tight as a safe lock. One of the guys who used to let Chumley make decisions now checked receipts 3 times. Not for payback, but to stay alive. Julie tried to change the beat. He opened a candy store in Las Vegas, shared pictures with filters, and tried to get fans to love him. At least online, he looked better and smiled more. The old friend, on the other hand, knew the difference between a lie and a play. He knew what it looked like to hide. In one episode, a customer came in with an old knife. Julie, it was always the Joker, joked that it could be used to ease stress. There was no grin or flinch. The film went on, but you could hear the air move if you paid close attention. They made a new thing, not the same or better,